Hi, how are you?
Great, nice to see you.
You too, mutual.
Thanks for agreeing to do this with me.
Yeah, well, I'm honored to be asked, so thank you.
So, I would just love to know how your life has changed since attending the McDougall program.
Um, it has changed pretty drastically, but in unexpected ways. And I actually was talking to my husband last night about it because he has joined me on this journey. We were actually McDougallers for 20 years through books, etc. And when I was asking him, like, well, how did you think this would impact you? His answer would be totally different than what mine is getting ready to be, which is just interesting about perspectives. Um, so I would say mine has changed more on the emotional, psychological level. That's what I tend to lean for. So it's more the qualitative, what rather than the quantitative piece of it that is the most interesting to me. We had known of the program, followed recipes for a long, long time. But when the program happened and going through all the various holistic components, I guess I would say, and the wraparound components, including Jeff Novick and Doug Lyle, those are the pieces that I think were always missing for me that I could never get from the book. So I understood concepts and recipes, etc., but I was always fighting my own life demons of weight loss since I was a kid. And that's just a different journey, I think. So having the emotional resources to have greater understanding into your own human psychology and food associations and all those things, that was really critical for me in being a healthier version of me. Because I can understand the things, but I think it has given me the freedom I am not perfect by any means. But in the past, when I was not perfect, I would beat myself up over it. If I had, said, okay, starting Monday, because for some reason we always start everything on a Monday. Starting Monday, I'm going to follow this, whatever the thing was that I was going to try. And then, Wednesday, I make some choice that's not in line with what I'm trying to do. And I think, okay, well, might as well give up the rest of the week and I'll start again next Monday because I've already lost. Or I'd say, like, man, you're such a loser. You don't even have the willpower to get through a week. I mean, all those like verbal assaults that I would mentally do to myself, not necessarily even knowingly, consciously. It's just that internal dialogue. And that is the part that is now gone. So now and when I say, go off the program, all it means now is that I'm eating more high caloric density foods, not that I'm eating animal products. That's the big difference. So when I say, oh my gosh, I went off the wagon, okay, it means that I had a handful of cashews, and I have Jeff Novick's voice in my head. And I am not kidding on this, that is saying, like, talking to me about my choices, or his voice will come into my head and say, we don't drink our calories, as I'm drinking some kind of, iced coffee or something that has sugar in it. It's just funny, but in the prior me, that would have really hurt my self-esteem, my self-respect. I would go to the give up window a lot more quickly, or think, well, I already blew it today, so I might as well just eat whatever the heck I want to. And that's just gone. And so I have so much more grace for myself that I know that I can do this because this is long term. And I'm not going to be perfect because life doesn't help us be perfect sometimes. So sometimes now I can tell Jeff Novick to be quiet in my head and be like, okay, Jeff, I'm under a lot of stress right now, so you can just cut it out because I know what you're saying and I hear you. But right now I'm making the choice to do this. And I know tomorrow I won't make that choice. So I feel much more in control of myself and my choices. And I know that anytime I'm ready, and I talk to Stacy about this a lot, anytime that I'm ready, if I know that, oh my gosh, and this has been a uniquely stressful 18 months. My mom passed away like 2 weeks after the program ended. She had been very ill during the program that I attended, and I was having to juggle a lot of responsibilities. And it kind of has remained stressful. But without the program, instead of having lost 45 pounds since July 9th, I would have easily gained a lot of weight and felt horribly about myself, so I don't even, I mean, the weight loss is important to me, obviously, but it hasn't become the most important. And I thought it would be, I'd kind of predicted, like, here's what's going to be meaningful to me. It's going to be back again to getting on the scale and being like, oh, look, I lost a pound or whatever it is. But that's not the part that I celebrate as much. And I'm happy about it. And I know I will continue on that journey, but it's that knowledge that I'm in control. I don't beat myself up. I know that sometimes if I give in to something, it is not a character flaw. And I used to kind of think that it was just a failure on my part. I don't believe that anymore. And so that's the part I think that is the most exciting, that I can make good choices. And I know when I'm not, and I know what higher caloric foods mean, density foods means for me in my own body too. So a lot of self-awareness, I think.
love that. I'm so glad that let you know that it's okay, that we're not expecting perfection, and to just stay on the path. And if you veer off once in a while, it's okay, and to not beat yourself up. So I'm so glad that you came to the program first. It sounds like something different and got something totally unexpected.
Yes, and I think, and not knowing that I really needed that. My husband actually didn't need that part. He's just wired differently, or his perspective is different. He didn't necessarily need all those things, and I didn't know I needed them either until I got them. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have needed to know this for so long. So no wonder I could never be long-term successful at other things that I did, because it was all this other internal struggles going on that weren't really food. Food was kind of the byproduct of it, So I think that's been very interesting, because my husband said, we could have just followed the books and gotten the same thing. I mean, he jokingly, and he's like, but I know you obviously needed that. And, I've lost 45 pounds. He's lost 30. We celebrate that a lot. And like one day a couple of weeks ago, he said, so how's the diet going? And by diet, we now just mean like your food choice is not like a diet. And I said, it's not going well. And he said, I kind of thought as much. I said, but again, it's not that I'm off the wagon. It's like, yeah, I know yesterday I had to go out lunch for work, and I know that what I ate had oil in it, but you know what? Today's a new day. Like before, I'd have been like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. And now the program's never going to work for me again. And I just can't do it because I don't have the willpower. I don't have that kind of self-talk anymore. And so it's very empowering.
Dr. Lyle would be very proud.
Oh, and the other thing that's been kind of a byproduct is we have one son who's a senior in high school. And so when we went through the program, because we were trying some new things, cooking wise, et cetera, he'd probably never seen me cook that much in the kitchen his entire life, honestly. And so we would just kind of mention like little things that we learned. And he is a stage performer, so his appearance is really important to him. So we would share bits and pieces of stuff. So he told me last week he'd been in a series of shows. And so schedule wise, he had to eat out a lot. And he said to me, I'm ready to try to start eating cleaner because I really notice it. So to think your child, there's this byproduct of, we weren't actually trying to intentionally influence him, because like we want to lead by example, and control yourself first. But here he is. And it's like, oh my gosh, that just makes me so happy as a parent that we've given him this gift of self-reflection. And so he's starting to make connections with his own person that will carry him forward in his adult life in decision-making. And I think that's super exciting.
Just that the knowledge, the connection between food and health at such a young age is so powerful.
Yes. And he is going into musical theater in college next year. And he met with the director of a program that he was considering last week. and we were coming up with questions. And one of his questions to talk to other students about, et cetera, was, if I live on campus, and I'm eating in the cafeteria, I have these meal plans or whatever, how can I maintain healthy eating habits? Like, are there places I can eat on campus in the union or whatever, where I can get fresh fruit? Or, it's like, I don't know if a year ago he, to have the awareness as a high schooler, to think like that's important for him, but it is, because as a performer, he needs to maintain his health. It's really important to him. So I was like, oh my gosh, how great, what a gift we have given you. And that was not our intent. It was just a byproduct, but how meaningful. So, if I always look at life, like if you have a belief system that's a table and you're trying to find all these legs to support it, there's another why, that why is this beneficial? Because look at what it did for him. And over time, as we become healthier individuals and can show others by example of what we're doing, it's just more table legs, to support this, this choice that we've made. And it's honestly never that hard. And I guess I always set myself up as being, this could be the hardest, because diets are often hard, because you feel deprived and like you're giving up something. But but again, I think it's all those components, holistic components that the program puts together that provide you with that knowledge to know that it's not just you and it's doable, because it's really not that hard if you know it, but you have to have the information to know the why.
And keep it simple.
Yes. And then some, we've also had to learn that you get this regular list of foods that you use, and then we get tired of them. And it's like, okay, we gotta find something else to spice this up, so to speak, because you have to have interest. You still have to have interest, in the food. So yeah, it's just been exciting. And again, the weight loss, I always think, like, boy, you should be like really excited. When's the last time you've lost 45 pounds? It's like, but that's not the exciting part. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but that's not how I'm measuring my success by. And I think that's actually beneficial, because I've always measured my success in the past by how many pounds I lost. Now I measure it by my outlook, my ability to control my choices, my self-talk, my level of self-talk. That's how I measure my success now. So that's like totally different than I ever would have thought, so I find that really exciting.
I love that. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it's great.
So what would you tell someone that was on the fence about attending the online course?
Just do it. Take the leap of faith, because I was, we had looked at doing this for a long time. I think the online opportunity and the lesser cost versus, we always wanted to do the Costa Rica event. We wanted to come to California, but between, having children that you'd have to have care for, and the cost and the travel, et cetera, and the time off work, that was always too challenging. There were huge barriers for us to be able to commit. The online is such a great platform. I could do the work I needed to do. I was caregiving for my mom at the time, so I could balance when I was needed for my family and when I might have to make up a presentation. I wanted to do them live, but sometimes it just wasn't doable. So I was able to do them all, however. And cooking at home while you're in the program is so critical, because if I'd been offsite and learned these skills, then I'd come home and have to transfer them to my own kitchen. I did it during those weeks. And that made a huge difference, because then I wasn't adjusting. When the program ended, I wasn't now adjusting to my own home. I already had things going, and I was meal prepping, and I had stuff in the fridge. That made a huge impact for the transition to all of a sudden not being online all day. But it was a leap of faith. So the cost was like, oh, it's still expensive, but you know what? It's been more expensive, and we wanted to do this for a long time. And there is not a day since day one of the program that I have regretted the time or the cost involved, because it's worth every single penny and minute spent. It really is. And I should not have made so many assumptions about how hard I thought it would be. I think sometimes you can self-sabotage yourself into not doing something out of fear. And I do that often in my life. And it was just, I have to do it, have to take this leap. And fortunately, I had a husband who wanted me to take the leap because he knew it would be a good path forward for us. And so he was very encouraging. So I think if you have anybody in your life, or talk to somebody, you can find a friend, because now I have a friend at work who is so interested in this that she has become vegan. She tries to do no oil. She has dabbled. She's got, the McDougall app on her phone now. So I have somebody now, we talk about it all the time. And about, what recipe did you try? Oh, send me that. I tried this one, those kind of things. Finding an attachment to somebody is very important, but knowing that we also had those Zoom meetings. And so even within the program itself, if you didn't have somebody next to you, you had people who were doing the same thing you did for some of the same reasons you were, who were very accepting and supportive, that you can make connections within the program itself to carry you forward. And sometimes in life, you just have to jump in, and do it. And the results can be surprising.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time, Janet. It's been great.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a great idea to put things out there.